Hello my crafty friends, it's Beverleigh here over at Crafty and Chaos with part 2 of our floral series, making digital stamps and stencils to go with them. So I hope you're enjoying this series as much as I am. I'm enjoying playing with the finished results, that's for sure, and I hope you're following along and learning a lot from these actual tutorials. Can't get my words out today. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to start by opening Canvas Workspace. Okay, so it's just checking, telling me for updates. And I was on earlier this afternoon, so I don't really think there will be anything since then. Possible, I suppose, but I wouldn't have thought so, not on a Sunday. So, here we are then, in Brother Scan and Cut Canvas. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to head over to the freestencilgallery.com and I'm going to type in flowers and search, and then I'm just going to scroll down until I come to the tulips, and then I select it, and then I go right click and save image as, and I've just called it tulips. And then we're done with the internet, so I can close that down and head back over to Canvas Workspace. So what we've actually got is not an Fcm or an SVG file. What we've got is a stencil that should have saved as either a JPEG or something similar. So what we're going to need to do is bring it into Scan and Cut and trace it. So I'm clicking on the 1, 2, 3, 4th icon down, and it looks a bit like a spade if you were playing cards, and that's the tracing icon. So the first thing you'll need to do is click an image, add image from the computer. So I just clicked somewhere in that middle spot, and then I'm going to go to desktop because I know that's where I saved it, so I'd find it easily, and I'm going to say open. So that will bring it in now for tracing, and as it happens it's brought it in and it's traced it well straight away, so I don't need to play with the settings. I've just got it in trace outer edge only to trace the outer edge image of the file only, and because it's a stencil and there's gaps between each part, it's okay to do that. I don't want the image itself, so I can untick that one, and then I'm going to say OK, and it will load the file onto my mat. So first thing I'm going to do is select everything, and I'm going to go on edit, which is the second icon down, and I'm going to group. Sorry, is it not in that one? Yeah, I'm sure it's in here. Is it in this one? Edit, and where's the group button? Okay, well I'm going to right click, you can do it this way, and group. Okay, it's just because I think I've been using the online version today and it's just throwing me a little bit, so I'm going to have to just try to work between the two formats, if you will, because they do operate slightly differently. So that's my tulips, and the very first thing I'm going to do is create a duplicate. Okay, so I'm dragging that off to the side, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to set that off to the side because that will become my drawing file. So I'm going to change the operation to draw, and now that will be a drawn file only. The next thing I'm going to do is bring on a square shape, and I'm going to resize it so that it fits over the tulip, like so. Now it doesn't matter what size we do it at this stage, just I'm going to make it 7, and then it's roughly 7 by 5, and then we can see that we've got that there in the centre. And next I'm going to first of all make sure that I've got the square at the bottom, so just need to know what's in that group. So I think that's right, yeah, that's on the top, so it needs to be at the bottom. So just to be sure, I'll move it all the way to the bottom, and then it seems to have disappeared completely now. Edit, undo, and I'm going to drag it down underneath all of them, select, oops, seem to have grouped them together now. Edit, undo. I don't want to group that onto that one. I just want it underneath so that I can actually, it's edit, undo. It seems to be wanting to put it as a group rather than, so I'm just going to do it a different way. If you're having problems with this, just go on arrange and send it to the back. So now it should be at the back and the tulips are on top. I'm going to select both, so I've got the tulips selected and the square, and then I'm going to process the overlap and subtract. And what we've got now is a detail stencil. Whoops. I think what I'm doing is it not giving it a chance to catch up. I think it's doing a process in another video in the background, and that's what's causing the issue. So I'm just going to give that some colour so we can see where we're up to. So this is our first stencil, and also on the other side over here we've got our drawing file, so we can draw it, and then we've got a stencil that matches it perfectly. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is work with this one, and we're going to try to make a less detailed stencil so that we can actually have just the outline of the tulip and the outline of the leaves and so on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break it apart. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go on the second icon down, the edit button, and we're going to go on divide. So that's divided each of the pieces, and I hope this will make sense later. So I'm just bringing in my pieces that we've got here and keeping them separate for now, and hopefully you'll get why in a minute. So I don't want I want to make an offset line, but I don't want it to join the stalks together, if you will. Now I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to go on create offset outward, and I'm going to make it 0.12 and say OK and see where we're at. So if we look at that now, so if we try now, we should be able to do a weld, and remember we went outwards by 0.12, so I'm going to weld, and hopefully that will weld us into the shapes that are actually for our stencil. But that's too big of an offset for my taste. It might be for you, okay for you, but it's a little bit, can you see how that bit fits there on my stencil? That's a little bit too big for me. So what I'm going to do next, now that I've just got the outline, because I've welded everything, I'm going to create an offset, but this time I'm going to take it inward. Inward, and we're going to go to 0.8. So because we're going inwards by 0.8, it means that we're only 0.04 bigger, if you will. So now I'm going to click on the outer part of each of those. I think I've just deleted the wrong one there, sorry. Let's just double check. So we want the biggest one, and again we want the biggest one here, and again the biggest one here, and again just the outer line, so that we're getting a slightly slimmer, but it will fit our detailed stencil better. So I'm just, if you wanted it to be exact, you could just take it down, but I like it to be just a little bit bigger, but not massively so. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to position the stencil, the one that we've already created, on the page, and I'm just going to move these other bits out of the way for now, but I am going to bring them back in a minute. So what I'm doing now is just positioning the stencil so that the flowers are all, can you see, there's an even border. If we sort of zoom in, I've positioned the top stencil so that there's an even border, and you can see the detail stencil through the non-detailed stencil, if you will. So what I'm going to do next is going to bring each of the other leaves back into play, if you will, like so. So I'm going to just put them in by eye and use my arrow keys to get them just where I want them to be, so do those final bits of adjustment. So I'm just going to do the bigger ones first. So again, I'm just doing the final fine-tuning of the positioning using my arrow keys until I'm happy with their position. And again, which one is this one? I think it's that one. I'm just going to position, and again position. And if you feel these are too close when you've actually finished editing this bit, you can always put them stalks slightly. It's entirely up to you, slightly out a bit, or we could take the inset in so they're just a fit. So what I'm going to do there is just going to zoom in so we can see what they're looking like and if they're actually touching, because it's difficult to see from where we are at the minute. So I'm just going to go on that one again, because I think we could just do to manoeuvre that one a little bit and finagle a little bit until I'm happy with the position. And it looks like we might get a double cut there because they're very, very close. So if that happens, what I suggest is, because obviously it's a stencil, so you can position anything wherever you want, and if that's the case, then we'll just move that off to the side. And it doesn't really matter if they're a little bit over, because you can position the stencil wherever you like. So I'm just going to move. I'm going to leave, for ease, I'm going to leave the flower heads where they are and just manoeuvre the other bits, because then we can just, as we're doing our stenciling, change the position of the greenery, if you will. So we can just do each of the green parts separately, and like so. But I still want to be able to fit it on an A5x7, and that I think is still going to be okay at that. Let's just double check. We'll just move this one round a little bit, and we can move this one like so. Okay, so again now I'm going to bring on a square, and I'm just going to make it untick the aspect ratio and make it 5x7 ish. Whoops, because I can resize everything afterwards. Doesn't want to play today. Just been a long week this week. And can I just say to all my Facebook friends who follow me on Facebook that I really do appreciate all the comments about I'd put on there that I hadn't forgotten you and I was going to do some more videos, but I have actually had a fairly horrid week this week. If you're not aware, I do stuff. I've just been diagnosed with osteoarthritis in my hip, and I do get a lot of pain, and just recently it's got really bad. And normally one of these I sort of push through, I don't kind of let it get to me, but just this week it seems like it's got on top of me a little bit, and I got feeling a little bit sorry for myself, but I'm over it now and I'm feeling more like myself again. And crafting takes my mind off things, so I think we all do crafting for different things, and at the moment it's what's keeping me sane. So all I've done now is just put some colour into that, and I've obviously done the subtract by making sure that the box that I'd created was at the bottom and that the stencils were at the top. So that's where we're up to now. We've got the detail stencil, which obviously the flower heads fit, but we'd have to finagle the bottom so that we can get those into position, but that's no great shakes. And I'd rather that and have them a little bit bigger in my choice. Now if you'd have done them exactly the same size, then you wouldn't have had that issue. So what we could do, I think what I will do is undo what we've just done. Go back to that point. I always have these ideas afterwards, never before. So we're trying to get back to the point where we've not actually done the cutting, and we haven't now. So what I'm going to do again, I'm not going to move everything, because obviously the flowers are in the right position. It's only the stalks that aren't. I'm going to create an offset line, and this time I'm going to go inward by 0.4, which should put it almost exactly the same size as the ones in the detail stencil. So I'm just going around and clicking the central parts of that leaf, and I think I've got them there. And if I just drag them off to the side, so they're the smaller ones and these are the bigger ones, okay? So we're going to leave them as is for a stencil on their own. So I'm just going to select them, and again I'm just selecting them individually so that I don't select something that I don't want. Once I've done that, I'm going to right click and group them to make sure I've got them all, and I have. Oh, I've missed one there, I'm just going to undo that. So I've not quite got them all at all, I've got that one missing. So I'm just going to make sure I've got them all grouped. Now they're all grouped, I'm just going to make a duplicate of that so I don't have to faff around making and resizing. I'm going to bring this on, make that less detailed stencil, if you will, that's slightly bigger. So I'm just giving myself more options here, and it's entirely up to you, but I think for people that are downloading the file, they've got some more options then as well. So I'm just going to move that up a little bit, and then I'm going to select both, just checking which is on top, and it's the rectangles on top at the minute. So I'm going to right click and send that one to the very back. Now my stencil should be on top, and it is. So now I'm going to select both of those and subtract, process the overlap, subtract, and if we put some colour in that one, then we've got our detailed stencil that's slightly bigger than the original cut file. So I'm just going to drag that off to the side, and now I'm going to work, I'm going to drag my rectangle off to the side as well for the time being, and I'm just going to position my flowers so that they fit. So I'm just going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to get my zoom tool. Right, so now I can go on select, and we just want to, oops, again it's slow today, it thinks I want to select the nodes and I don't. So I'm just going to click off the page and wait while the software catches up with itself, and it realises I'm not wanting to mess with the nodes. I'm going to zoom back out if it'll let me. I'm hoping it's not going to crash now and burn. Oh, there we go. So it's actually, ooh, now then. It did take a while to catch up then. I'm just going to zoom out again. And then I'm just going to be on that, and I'm going to use my arrow keys. Or I'm trying to, but it keeps wanting to select everything. So again, if this happens, just try to be patient. It's just the software catching up with itself. So I want to move that away, because that seems to be causing the issue. Once I've got it in position, so they should fit now almost exactly. So I'm just going to click off, and then I'm going to move each of the leaves into position. Click off. I'm just trying to be careful not to hit the button that makes it think that I want to access the nodes. So I'm just positioning these so that they match up to the stencil that's underneath, if you will. Oh dear, I'm going to undo that because I've just moved the wrong thing. It's this little stalk that I need, and I'm just positioning that one. Okay, we've got one more to do, just a little bit off with one of them, and I'll sort that in a minute. Leave that one there. Oops, accidentally double clicked, and we just need to finagle this one a little bit just to get it so that it's on. Now, so as you can see, give or take, they're pretty much the same position as the others. So now what I can do is go on display, zoom all to matte, and somewhere here I've got another So I'm just going to zoom all these off to buzz them off to the side. So there's my drawing file, the stamp, if you will. There's my detailed stencil. There's my less detailed outline stencil, if you will, with a little bit of extra space. And this one is going to be my stencil that fits the file exactly. So now I'm just going to click, and if it's not at the back, I'm going to arrange and send to the back, like so. Then I'm going to select all, and I'm going to go on the second one down, which is edit and subtract. And now if I put some colour in, oops, I've done it again. It loves me today, this computer. It's very, very sensitive, my mouse pad. And I'm going to just give it some colour. So now you can see that's how that stencil is going to cut. Now I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit. And I think we're just about getting away with that there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go on display, fit all objects to window, and then I'm going to bring everything on the mat. So if it's a 5 by 7, so it's 7 inches wide and 5 across, so you'll be able to cut both of those from one piece of mylar. So you've got your you can cut 2 stencils from one piece of A4 mylar, which is what I did. And also you can get your computer to draw the file. And lastly, we're going to do a sentiment, and we're going to use, what's it called, that brush one that I like, hamster. And I think we're going to say happiness looks good on you. Okay, so we do that. That's give our sentiment. So now I'm going to zoom in. So we can see what we're doing. Now if we look at that, we can see that all of those letters are going to be cut separate if we're not careful. So I'm just going to make it bigger so you can see. They're not at the moment joined, so we need to go on edit and weld, and that's welded them for us. And now if we fill it with colour, that's what we've got. Happiness looks good on you. And we could do another option, so we're going to make a Control and D for mine, because I made that a duplicate option for mine. And I can make one a dedicated drawing file and the other a cut file as is. Okay, so let's display and fit all objects to mat, and we can bring them all on. So we've got 2 greetings for the card, if you will. We've got our Ringo again, because it thinks I've clicked it twice, and I might have done. It's just that the computer is so very sensitive at the minute. It's picking up double clicks when I'm not double clicking. I don't quite know why it's so sensitive all of a sudden. So there we've got the stamp file, if you will. You can, it's not an actual stamp, obviously, it's a digital, the equivalent of a digital stamp, but you can get your computer to draw that. And I'm just going to put this on. Make sure it's actually on the mat. It's still catching up with itself. And then we can bring this one, which is our detailed outer line, if you will. This is our, I've just double clicked it, I think. That's our detailed stencil. that matches the file, and this is our slightly bigger stencil. So all that remains now is to file and export Fcm file. And we'll give it a name. I'm going to put it in my Fcm files so I know where I can find it for when I upload it to my blog, because remember, any files that I make as part of a project I do actually put up as a free Fcm and SVG file on my blog, and I don't think I actually give that a name. So we'll do it once more. Export file as, should automatically go there now, and we'll call it Tulip. Okay, so that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.